Hi, I'm going to be showing you how I built an AI stylist that allows you to curate and visualize outfits for a fashion brand. I'm Oscar, I'm a solutions engineer working here at Algolia, and my role is to help companies with their search and discovery solutions. Let's talk about on brand for a second. Merchandisers will spend a lot of time creating and curating content for a website. We've seen large fashion brands have entire teams dedicated to managing category pages, pinning items to the top of them, or running campaigns and creating sets of items that have a certain style or go together. All of this is creative work. It needs to be on brand. It needs to make sense and look good. And these are things that are really hard to put into words and define, but we know it when we see it. They also need to follow a very specific set of rules. You can't have the Adidas shoes and the Nike socks in the same place. They might need to follow a certain style or color palette. And depending on the time of year, they might need to promote the swimsuit or the jacket. And so all of this could be manageable, but when you include the factor that it needs to change regularly and they need to maintain a level of control, it becomes really difficult to automate. So what's the solution? Well, a tool that merchandisers will often use is the frequently bought together model. And that's going to show items that are frequently bought together. So you could imagine the bag, the glasses, and the hat all in the same place. But this model uses real-world events from users to train. And so the reality can be a lot messier than that. I might buy my phone charger, a t-shirt, and some milk all at the same time. And it's not because I'm going to use them together, it's just more convenient. So what can we do? Well, I had quite a few companies coming to me with the same problem. So I went ahead and tried to build my own project and realized quite quickly that I had all the components necessary to build a tool that could potentially solve this issue. And that's what I'm going to show you now. What we can see here is a classic e-commerce website. I can search for items in the search bar and open one up. If I scroll down, I can see some outfits designed around the flip-flops. I have my summer outfit with an image corresponding, and I have my casual outfit with, again, an image corresponding to it. And we can see that all the items here are present in that image. Now I can actually generate another one in real time. So if I click here, I can ask for a beach style and generate the look. If I open up my terminal, we can see what's going on in the backend. We can see that the agent is looking at the item, looking at the request, and then generating some queries where it could find items for my new outfit. And we can see here that it has done so. So now if I open up my outfit, I can see that I have a load of items that are an outfit. And now I can go one step further and actually generate an image for that outfit. So image generation takes a bit of time. At the moment in this demo, it could take around a minute to do so. That's quite long, so we're probably not going to do that in real time, but these models are getting better and faster, and you could probably optimize this to be a little bit faster. All that to say that it's probably as slow as it's ever going to be, and it's just going to get better from here. Amazing. We have the picture generated, and you can see that it has all the items that I gave it that are in my outfit. So in terms of user interface, I don't know if this is the best way to present it. It gets the point across, but I think with these experiences, there's a lot of room for creativity to try new things out. For example, you could imagine clicking on this image, seeing the items on the left, and potentially adding them all to basket at the same time. You could maybe even abstract the idea of having individual products and just have outfits. And I could scroll through these outfits in a different kind of experience. That's just one way you could potentially use this. Let's look at kind of how I built it. It uses three main steps. The agent first constructs the search and the filters that are required for Algolia based on the prompt and context. Algolia will then retrieve a certain number of items and give it to the agent. The agent will then choose the best one based on the initial requirements. You can think of the agent handling that creative side. It's doing the summer look. It knows what a skateboarder wears. And Algolia handles the guardrails. It makes sure we're filtering, applying the rules set out by the merchandiser, and providing a structured output. I also chose to include the Algolia GenAI toolkit, and that's available in the dashboard right now. And it gives the ability for non-technical users to manage prompts and tools so that they can preview the results before publishing and reduce the dependence on technical users. I want to look at why Algolia is actually really well positioned as a retrieval layer. The first thing is retrieval is usually the hard part for agents. But given we're a search first company, it's something that we have a little bit of experience with. We're fast, we can understand fuzzy intent, and we have the popularity metrics baked in, which allow us not to just find the most relevant result textually, but also the result that the user's most likely to want. We've also got vector search, and we found that vector search and LLMs mix really well. And that's for a few reasons, but one of them is agents are verbose. They will say too much, they're too wordy, no matter how much you tell them to be concise. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. LLMs have deep domain knowledge. They know the kind of dresses that exist, the kind of shoes that you might like. And so they're able to expand on your search and help you find what you're looking for. Keyword can also hide a lot of nuance. Us humans have gotten used to typing into a search engine in a certain way where we know the search engine can find what we're looking for. With vector search, we can increase retrieval. We can match in queries that are a bit more complex, a bit longer. And even in simple queries, we can increase the number of results. That means potentially a little more noise, but since we're giving it to an agent, it's not a user that's going to be looking through all of that. It's an agent, and that allows them to filter it for us. So who's actually going to use this? Well, I don't think it's going to be the big fashion brands. They don't have that many items, typically 1,000, 2,000, and their margins are really high, so they can afford to pay someone to put the items together in an outfit and then manage the photo shoot. Where I think it's really going to be useful is with companies with a lot more items, maybe tens, hundreds of thousands, even millions, and much lower margin per product. It doesn't make sense to have a photo shoot if the item's not going to have that much of a return on investment. And here it gives an opportunity for that. There are other verticals where I could see this working. Typically in furniture, you can imagine sending a picture of your living room and the agent designing it for you, or having a preview of your tech setup. These are just a couple ideas. I'm sure that if you thought about it for a second, you could think of a lot of other use cases, potentially even outside of retail. There could be a variety of ideas here. There are a few limits though. The main one I think is going to be the cost of image generation. So just to run this demo, I've spent around $40 to $50 on image cost of generation. So it's not that much when you compare it to a photo shoot, but it's definitely a consideration. The interface. So there are other talks at DevCon talking about how with this new generative kind of experiences, we need to define new UX. But I think the main thing is to have something that's obvious so that the user can see and knows to use it, and then intuitive so that the user understands how to use it. Then for the tooling, I think automation, it's by definition not going to be perfect. And we probably still want to rely on humans for those edge cases and to make sure everything's going well. And I'd like to share as well how I think I could make this better. And I think a lot of it relies around the context. So just getting the agent to have more awareness of what's going on. You want to minimize the friction. You know, when you've had a chatbot that just asks you regular questions, you don't really know where it's going, so you kind of give up on the process. Yeah, that's not cool. So we want to try and personalize the experience. And there's a few ways of doing this, but typically in Algolia, there's the concept of a user profile. We can use the user's history to understand what interests they have, what they've clicked on, and who they might be, which can give us an edge to help the agent. We also have a concept of state, potentially what's in the search bar, what filters are applied at that moment, and that helps us paint a picture to give the chatbot or agent a lot more context so that it's not just asking questions with no context. So I think the key takeaway for me is that us search experts are kind of making it up as we go along. We're trying things out. We're seeing what works with our current customers and what's getting our users interested. And I think that getting creative is the right thing to do here. We don't really know where it's going, but I hope this has given you some inspiration to include it in one of your projects or inspired to do something similar. Thank you for listening. I've been Oscar. It's been a pleasure.